I bought this shirt in 1985. Anybody know what On the Fritz was? Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Jim Ellis, the Unemployed Entrepreneur. Hey, if you haven't subscribed or liked or shared, go ahead and do that right now. Click on the subscribe button and then hit that little bell and slide up to the word all. Then you'll get all the notifications every time I put out a new video. I'm going real slow on Facebook, but this is part 3 of music that inspired me. I'm still back in 1982 initially, really. We'll talk about the clip you saw at the beginning in just a minute. But in 1982-ish, I first heard about, maybe it was 1983, of Steve Taylor in a little album called I Want to Be a Clone. Well, there it is right behind me. They've got the close-up of him there. I'm going to go ahead and move it around a little. I don't know if you can see that at all, but there's, when you go and you can make the picture bigger. It's the picture over here. It's bigger over there. You get it. But yeah, Steve Taylor, I Want to Be a Clone. Oh my goodness. If you don't know who Steve Taylor is, please do yourself a favor. Even if you don't like his style of music, listen to his words. Now this album was only a 6-song album. I guess they called that back then. I want to say they called it an EP instead of an LP. I'm not sure why it would be an EP because I thought E stood for extended. I don't know. Maybe y'all can fill me in because I don't remember. Well, I had the cassette tape. Do y'all remember cassette tapes? Yeah, that's what I had. I bought a cassette tape and I basically wore it out. I'm going to tell you a couple of funny stories. The first one being, really not that funny, but the first one being that unless my remember is not working correctly, but I think it is, Steve Taylor and Sheila Walsh went to see them at the Fox Theater in Detroit. And I want to say it was this concert right here. This shirt was a muscle shirt. Okay, show my muscles that I'm covering up because my muscles are bigger nowadays. But as you can see on the back, which I showed earlier, On the Fritz 1985, that was my first concert. I'm pretty sure that was my very first concert ever, if I remember correctly. I remember that my friend Paul Johnson somehow managed to snag Steve Taylor's Perrier water bottle. Yes, he brought it home with him. He put it up on a shelf and he worshipped it for days on end. I don't know that he actually worshipped it, but he put it up on a shelf in memorial. Kind of funny story. And there's some other funny things I want to share with you, but while I'm thinking about it, I want to tell you about, I want to talk again about the words, okay? Let's talk about some song titles for a second. The one that stands out, of course, the title track, I Want to Be a Clone. Oh my goodness. This song said everything that we as teenagers wanted to say about church, but were too afraid to say it. I'd gone through so much other stuff that walking down the aisle was tough, but now I know it's not enough. I want to be a clone. I asked the Lord into my heart. They said that was the place to start, but now you got to play the part. I want to be a clone. Be a clone, kiss conviction goodnight. Cloneliness is next to godliness, right? I'm grateful that they showed the way because I could never know the way to serve him on my own. I want to be a clone. Oh, and the bridge. What's I kind of wanted to tell my friends and people about him, What? You're still a babe. You have to grow. Give it 20 years or so, because if you want to be one of his, you got to act like one of us. Oh my gosh, did that speak to us, right? And frankly, it still applies today sometimes in the church. If you're not acting like, you're not saved if you're not acting like so-and-so. Well, you know what? The only so-and-so that you have to act like, his name's Jesus. Well, that's the one you need to act like. And folks, I'm telling you, I'm not talking about the liberal Jesus who thinks that socialism is good and that, all the social injustice things, every social injustice thing out there is exactly what Jesus would do. No. I'm not talking about that Jesus. I'm talking about the Jesus that would give his life for you. The one that says, I know you're a sinner and I know you're going to hell and I'm going to die for you anyway, even if you reject me. That's the Jesus we need to be like. Here I am preaching. Sorry, I didn't mean to make this a preaching session. Let's talk again about, even though Jesus is the ultimate, let's talk a little bit more about Steve Taylor. I'm wearing the shirt because I can. It was actually in a closet in my mom's house 1985. This is a 35-year-old shirt. And it's very thin, and it looked a lot better on the teenage Jim Ellis than it does on the age Jim Ellis. Anywho, lots of memories here. The songs. Oh, I just found out this past couple of days while doing some research. There's a Christian Contemporary Music magazines, is that right? CCM magazines list of 100 top albums. I disagree with many of them, namely Amy Grant. Anywho, but Steve Taylor's Meltdown album is number 18. That's never would have imagined Steve Taylor getting on CCM's top 100 list, but that's awesome. Listen, guys, if you've never heard of Steve Taylor, get going, okay? Look him up. He's worth it. Steve Taylor is the reason the Newsboys are who they are today, because of Steve Taylor's creativity and his incredible imagination, his way with words. It's my understanding that the Newsboys were struggling. They were a struggling band who was just trying to, do what they could do until Steve Taylor got a hold of them, and now they are who they are. Let's talk about it. Oh, the one that absolutely has to be talked about when you talk about this particular album, EP, 6 songs, is Whatever Happened to Sin. The Christian Counselor wrote, quote, "Ooh, it's the only human choice ahead. If you can't support it, why don't you abort it instead? You say you pray to the sky? Why? When you're afraid to take a stand down here. 'Cause while the holy talk reads like a bad ad lib, silence screams you were robbing the crib. Say it ain't none of my business, huh? A woman's got a right to choose. Now a grave digger, next you pull the trigger. What then? Whatever happened to sin?" Yeah, those are the kind of words he wrote. There are a couple funny stories I want to relate. I think they go well with my Steve Taylor stuff. My Steve Taylor memories. I have a friend by the name of Ron. He was my best friend in high school. And one day, I don't remember what we were doing. I don't remember if we were in school. It was summer. I had a 1974 Gran Torino Elite that I had customized, if you will, to include a cassette player, because all I had was like an AM radio, I think. Maybe an AM FM. I don't remember. But it was mounted underneath the dashboard. And I don't remember what what do you want to hear? Do you want to hear something? I had this big old, you remember the big old cases, flip up a bunch of cassettes, and then you turn it over and you flip that one, a bunch of cassettes, and the dog barked. Yeah. But lots of tapes in that big old thing. And I said, "Hey, Ron, what do you want to hear?" And he says, "You know what?" And it was one of those, I don't know. What do you want? Finally, he says, "You know what? I want to hear a stock market report." I said, "Okay." Reach in. First of all, he's like looking at me like, "Are you stupid? What?" Reach into that case, find the Steve Taylor "I Want to Be a Clone" 6-song EP, put it on the side that is finished, and rewind it about 30 seconds. If you know anything about Steve Taylor, if you know that song or this particular album, you will know that at the end of what's the name of the song? I just had it in my head. What you gonna do? No, not what you gonna do when your number's up. It's yeah, it is what you're going to do. It's what you're going to do when your number's up. At the end of it, there's a part that goes on in the background. Ron thought I was crazy. He's right, I was. But there it was. He asked for a stock market report. I gave it to him, straight from Steve Taylor. Now, on a little bit more serious note, Steve's penchant for incredible lyrics went on. I mentioned Meltdown a little bit ago. There's a song on there called Sin for a Season. There's a sweaty hand handling his cocktail napkin. Come on up and see me, scribbled with a gold pen. But you better ring twice. You know where I'm going. And he tells his ability to be able to tell incredibly vivid stories in the shortest amount of time was really one of my inspirations. It's actually been one of my downfalls, because when I start to write and I go off the rails and it becomes these big long things, I'm like, this doesn't match the Steve Taylor expectation, okay? So yeah, that's who I shoot for when it comes to, succinctness and being able to tell a story in the shortest amount of time. So yeah, he's been my inspiration as far as that. Now, On the Fritz, the album that I playing around with the shirt, has a song on it called I Just Want to Know. It was written shortly after the whole deal with Jimmy Swaggart and Jim Baker in 1985. If you don't know about that, look it up. It's worth looking into. It's part of our history. Life's too short for small talks. So don't be talking trivia now. There it is. Excess baggage fills this plane. There's more than we should ever allow. There's engines stalling and good men falling, but I ain't crawling away. I just want to know, am I pulling people closer? And I love the cry in his heart that says, am I doing the right thing? Is this what I need to be doing? Folks play follow the leader. Who's the leader going to obey? Will his head get big when the toes get tapping? I just want to know, are they catching what I say? I'm a little too young to introspect. I surely haven't paid all my dues. But there's bear traps lying in those woods, and most of them's already been used. Again, lyrical ability is just absolutely amazing. Having said that, he moved into, after quite a long stint, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, On the Fritz was his last album because, as rumor has it, he got a little bit of flack from the church because of some of the things he wrote. A little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of, hey, hit you right in the, which is awesome. Then he came back 5 years later with I Predict 1990 and wrote things like, I blew up the clinic real good. The Lament of Desmond, Desiree, if I may be so blunt, Hollywood, bag your agnostic front, Underwood, Hollywood, Undertaker, Fred, get ready to meet your maker. And what does all that mean? He also wrote Jim Morrison's Grave on that album. Just like I said, if you do not know Steve Taylor, look him up. It's worth it. Now, I'm going to end this with one more fun little story. Fun for me because I was, along with four other guys, blessed, honored. But here he is, 1998. I'm pretty sure it was May, if I remember right, on the campus of University of Michigan in 1988, May of 1988. We opened for the Steve Taylor White Cross Tour, band called the Light Brigade. Guitar player was two guitar players, Jerry Linden and Bruce Bradley. I believe the bass player was Mickey Myers, and we had a keyboard player by the name of Mark Speck. I have no idea what happened to him. I don't even know how we got hooked up with him, but he was the reason that we got the gig, and nothing happened after that. But it was still exciting. It's still exciting to say that I opened for Steve Taylor. I asked him how in the world. Now, first of all, you have to understand that during the concert, he has all this smoke going on, and he talks about the vitamins in the smoke. And so I said, just breathe it in, it'll keep you healthy. So I asked him later in the show, because he has this incredible thing that he does where legs crisscross, and I mean, he's like 6'9" or something. He weighs 150 pounds. He's like, oh. I asked him, I said, how in the world do you keep so much energy? He says, it's the vitamins, man, in the smoke. That's just the way he was. He was a great guy. Still is a great guy from what I understand. Love to see him again someday. Anywho, as you can tell, I've had a lot of fun making this video. Here I am wearing a shirt I haven't worn in like 30 years. And I was alluding to, in fact, I have a video somewhere of me singing in that band I was mentioning. Pretty sure I was wearing this. And let me tell you, I looked good. Not so much now. Anyway, listen, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm trying to be inspirational, telling you my inspirations. I hope you're being inspired. Think about the things that you did in your past. Think about the people and the albums and the music and who inspired you. Hey, we just had Mother's Day. Maybe your mom inspired her. Make sure you go and give her a hug. What I want you to do at this point is remember that the unemployed part of unemployed entrepreneur is never permanent. God bless, guys. Humanist philosophy is what it's all about. You're so open-minded that your brain leaked out. What you got? That's a wrong song.